Greetings, fellow Lyman citizens and those who are just interested in finding out what this is all about, right? I first want to apologize for not doing this sooner. This financial report was released in July of this year, and it has taken me some time to review and pull out information that is important for the citizen of Lyman to be aware of. Because of the sad absence of accountability by our own town council, I am doing these videos. Keep in mind that this report is for 2021 and was released in June of 2022 due to COVID. The state allowed townships and municipalities to postpone their required reporting for up to 1 year. First of news, Hannah Welzel has resigned from council, and there will be a special election on December 13th of this year to fill that seat. Some asked if I was running for it, and at this time, through prayer and discussions with my wife, I did not feel it was my time to run for this particular seat. There are, however, 3 people on the ballot for December 13th. They are Jack Belair, Rick Hallams, and Matthew Kreft. I want to encourage everybody to show up December 13th to actually vote. Please, folks, spread the word. Don't allow a small portion of voters to show up only. All right, take 5 to 10 minutes to get out there and vote. It should not be as crowded as the midterm elections, but let's make the seat have value and put someone in there with more than 10 to 20 votes. Yes, your vote does give the seat value. It gives the position value. Because you voiced your vote, the seat that is filled is given that value of your voice. Secondly, in news, Greg Miller is no longer town administrator, in case you didn't know. He had submitted his resignation some time ago. So now the current administrator is the former treasurer, Noelle Blackwell. She is the spouse of Todd Blackwell, street maintenance supervisor and wastewater collection supervisor of Lyman. This means that the treasurer and the town administrator are currently one person, and this person is married to a staff supervisor. Again, I want to give the caveat to everyone watching. What I share, both positive and negative, is not a personal attack or personal praise for that matter. For the most part, I've never personally met any person in town council on a personal level. Mayor Greer and I go to the same church, but we have never fellowshipped. And I'm an avid believer in the inherent good in people on a personal level. So I believe they may be great people, and I would have no issue at all having a coffee with any of them. But they may need to be prepared to be questioned on the merits of their performance in the position as town council. If that is the topic of our conversation over coffee, right? Of which it doesn't have to be. So these questions are not personal. These debates are not personal. The beauty of democracy is the ability to agree and disagree, yet still as human beings get along. So with that in mind, I am a New York Giants fan, and I love to have quality friendships and talk trash about other football teams, especially while the Giants play them and even lose. So without further ado, let's jump into the financial report of 2021 for the town of Lyman. Let me prepare the logistics here. First and foremost, all of what I will share with you is public knowledge and can be reviewed on the town's site. And if not there, you can file a Freedom of Information Act request with them or the state. As well, to not elongate this video, I'm not going to share screenshots and the like, as the report you can review on your own. I will reference page numbers though, so you can review the multi-page report and go to where you need to get the proof of what I'm talking about. Also, the accounting firm did come to present this information during a scheduled town meeting. However, very seldom pinpoint the flaws, or as they call, material weaknesses. Not sure if by design or by appeasement to the town council. However, there is always more details in the report, which is given to every town council member prior to that meeting in their packet. This was never done until after I made a note about it. This report is also submitted based on South Carolina Constitution requirements to the state for review and held for record. Okay, so generally speaking, it is a healthy balance sheet with a ton of working capital. There are funds available, and Lyman is not in any danger if all continues as expected, right? In 2020, there was a debt that the town should have paid off prior, and this report shows that it was paid off in full of 2021. So yay, great job, right? The loan was for the wastewater expansion. Yet sadly, in January 2022, the council decided to take another loan for $3.5 million for the wastewater again expansion or upgrade. However, prior to that, the town transferred $150,000 to the general fund from the wastewater fund. Not illegal, but what they did was cover the $150,000 they transferred out to the hospitality tax fund. We'll talk about that later. Which this is the first year that is now a separate fund, the hospitality tax fund, which should have been done way back. So our town made $690,000 in profit in the general fund, primarily by underestimating property taxes, the MASC telecom revenue, and business license revenue. It's a good year as far as income is concerned. Each of these increased in 2021. Hospitality tax income almost doubled of what they projected and are spending way less than what they budgeted as well. There are no salaries in this fund, which is kind of weird because that means they give nobody the responsibility to do the tourism, and community activities for 2021 were way under. But that could have been due to the uncertainty of COVID in late 2021. Construction in process. For some reason, $99,000 has been in construction in process for 2 years in a row. There's been no growth to that fund or move to depreciable assets as a project is finished, right? So what is this really for, and is it really in process? Now let's deal with the stuff the accountants did call their attention to, also known as material weaknesses in the report, which is probably the last pages of the report, every report. The most common one is still an issue, and probably even more now, which is segregation of duties. Separating duties to assure accountability. It's now an ongoing issue for at least 9 years, yet this time they did hire someone in March 2020, but evidently was not enough to eradicate this pandemic problem, and will not be, since the treasurer role has been absorbed by the town administrator, and there has been no announcement publicly for a new treasurer being sought. Recently, they did add a third person authorized to sign checks for the town. They had a special meeting on September 28th, 2022 at 3 p.m., where the entire purpose was a motion to approve the resolution approving Mayor Glenn Greer, Councilmember Rebecca Martin, and Mayor Pro Tempore Alton Free as the authorized signatures for all town bank accounts. Don't know why they couldn't wait till next meeting, but they did it. Segregation of duties is huge. I'm not presuming anything, but statistics show that there's a pyramid of fraud that if certain things are present, then a person may be more susceptible to perpetuating a fraud. The bottom of that triangle is the incentive or the opportunity, which can come from lack of segregation of duties, right? The middle of that triangle is or as it gets to the point, external pressures, either be in the job or personal debt, or a myriad of different issues that can happen in a person's life. And the final point is rationalization. The infamous, it's okay, I deserve this. The second issue on the material weaknesses is just as disturbing to me. It is dealing with properly recorded donated assets. It states, and I quote, capital assets that there was a piece of land and a building donated to the town from the Tiger River Fire Department in November 2020. After an outside appraisal was done, the land was valued at approximately $203,000 and the building was valued at approximately $135,000. The town was unaware of these assets, and we only became aware, this is their statement, per discussion with the Tiger River Fire Chief. It's disturbing to me because of their lack of accountability and responsibility to the issue. They claim they were not aware. However, let's look at the meeting minutes from November 9th, November 16th, and November 23rd, 3 weeks of meetings. November 9th, 20 minutes, state after executive session, it's titled Resolution Concerning Agreements with Tiger River Fire District. Alton Free made a motion to approve the resolution. Glenn Greer seconded the motion, and all were in favor. November 16th, special meeting, at 12 noon, middle of the day, lunchtime, titled First Reading of an Ordinance, public reading, concerning agreement with Tiger River Fire District. Alton Free made a motion to approve the first reading of the ordinance. Rebecca Martin seconded the motion, and all were in favor. November 23rd, special meeting called by Mayor Chappell. The only agenda item, it's titled Second Reading of an Ordinance Concerning Agreement with Tiger River Fire Service District. Glenn Green made a motion to approve the second reading of the ordinance and put into law. Alton Free seconded the motion, and all were in favor. Process happened, except the minutes state a first and second reading of the Dealing with Tiger River Fire District, which if you watch my citizen training videos, you know that every ordinance has to undergo 2 public readings before it's entered into public law. So what was in that ordinance and or resolution? What was the rush? By law, they have to do a first and second reading, but that first reading should have been held until an assessment and appraisal of the property was completed. Not only that, but in previous years, there was this very same issue. In the 2008 financial report with the water system of Duncan being donated, in 2017 when Welford's water and sewage being donated to Lyman, no reporting, assessments, or proper assessment of the assets were done. For 2017 and 2018 respective issues, their response was lack of staff. In 2020, they were trained by the same accounting firm that does these reports on how to accomplish this. Then we look at the town's response in 2020, the material weakness of capital assets, town's response, and I quote, "The town agrees with the audit recommendations and town council is approving all donations prior to acceptance as an agenda item." That's 2020. In this report, 2021, look at the response to this issue concerning the Tiger River Fire District assets. And I quote, "The town agrees with the audit recommendations," and here it is, "Town council is approving all donations prior to acceptance as an agenda item." So are they doing that or not? Because evidence shows that's not the case. Every business and nonprofit knows that everything has a value. If you drop off clothes to Miracle Hill, it is a donation, and that value is given so the donor can report it if the donor so chooses. In government accounting, just like in business, donations have values that even then depreciate over time. Not sure why this is still an Achilles heel for our town council and staff, but it has to be resolved. Now, this last item I have to disclose that I am still investigating, but wanted to share to pose the question or put it out there. There's one item that is not reported as a material weakness, but I have questions about. This is the first year, as I mentioned previously, 2021, where the Hospitality Tax Fund and the Victim Assistance Funds were separated from the general fund. You can find that in page 8 of the 2021 report. So finally, yes, awesome. As mentioned, hospitality tax income close to doubled from the previous year, and there has been no spending of this fund. And so this can only be used for tourism-related activities. Now this year, 2021, this report, was the first year, again, this was reported as a separate account. In prior years, as per this report, it was bundled into the general fund. So there was intermingling of funds. That's the question itself, right? So here's the question. They transferred $58,000 to the general fund from this account, or hospitality fund, which is technically illegal from what I can see so far, because as per South Carolina Statute Chapter 6, or Title 6, Chapter 1, the first $25,000 can be transferred to the general fund, but then after that, the only 5% of the remaining could be transferred. So based on $293,000 coming into the hospitality fund after the first $25,000 being transferred, that's $184,000 as we do the math. Then 5% of that would be $9,220, which would be a total possible authorized $34,000, not $58,000. That's rounding just the numbers off. But then the account in the narrative says 20% of it can go to the general fund, which is indeed $58,000, which is on page 32. But I couldn't find any legal reference to that 20% number. The report says on the aforementioned page that the hospitality tax fund, this is a quote, transferred funds into the general fund for the 20% allowable to cover operating expenses in the general fund. I don't know where that is. I tried looking for it. I couldn't find it. and I'm still investigating this further, but I didn't want to wait on sharing it. The last concern is this found on page 9 of the report. General fund revenues and expenditures are budgeted at approximately $2.627 million. There's no appropriated fund balance in the fiscal year 2022 budget. That's a quote from that page. What does this mean? It means in a nutshell that there is no clear plan for funds appropriation in the budget for 2022. GASB, or Government Accounting Standards Board, does not recommend this. This may be actually the answer to why there's so much transfer ins and transfer outs in the general fund. There is no plan as to how to fund expenditures or how to keep in reserve for that particular expense. Appropriating funds is assigning fund to a specific use. Lyman doesn't do that unless you call them to separate the funds, like hospitality victims and the like. As per the accounts audit report, we don't do that. Here are some of my recommendations from the outside looking in, right? I say the outside because the reality is I'm not privy, nor are you, to the discussions in executive session. And these executive sessions have been used to work out deals and negotiations, which is what the sessions are for if legal issues are being discussed, but we don't know. However, once a deal is finalized, this deal should be presented in public by town council to the public. So number 1 recommendation from the outside. One way to use the unassigned fund balance would be to appropriate some to create a capital reserve to use on future major repairs and maintenance of the town, like road expansion cost. With no plan, our town lives from check to check, and a surplus that is never used for the betterment of our town. Number 2 recommendation. Our community continues to expand, and no, we cannot stop people from selling their land. However, we can take a proactive role on issues that affect our town. I would recommend creating a committee that creates a study that would assess the infrastructure demands needed as the community grows. How much sewage will be produced? How much water will be utilized with those new homes? Will schools have what they need from the town to create healthy learning environments? Are the roads prepared for such growth? This information will give us the tools and the evidence necessary to be able to mobilize and to get further funding if and or when needed for it. Just saying we need more money is not the answer. Data speaks volumes. Number 3, setting up a specific fund not to be used for anything other than road improvements. As part of the builder's infrastructure cost plan, alongside with them the expansion of infrastructure, and have them put that into their cost. This will help them anyway in the long haul to make the attraction to potential homeowners, make the property attractive to them. Number 4, was it absolutely necessary to take a $3.5 million loan due to growth? If so, how can we offset a percentage of these costs to the builders? Was any of this passed off to the Walmart Corporation in their deal? They're taking up a lot of sewage and water. Those are my recommendations from the outside looking in. Finally, friends, neighbors, spies who are watching, who don't agree with me and don't like me, there it is. Probably did more homework than needed, or even more than most council members did, but this is my commitment to you, the citizen. Still do not know if I will be running again, but I hope to be able to continue this commitment to you, my Lyman neighbors. God bless you and your family. My hope and my prayer is that this holiday season will be beyond what you expect, and new family memories and abundance to your home. Until next time, I am Marc Garcia, and I'm for Lyman. I'll talk to you next time.